I should have known when the houseplants started dying. It's weird, but Amanda used to water them religiously, every Tuesday morning, like clockwork. She said they were like little green souls, and she even named one after her grandmother. But one day, I came home and they were bone dry, leaves curled in like fists. No one talks about how rot starts with silence. That day, I just come back from a work trip to Phoenix. For days gone. I walked in with a suitcase in one hand and a cheap snow globe for her in the other. She wasn't home. The place was spotless, unnervingly so. And the framed photo of us in Montauk, the one where she kissed my cheek and the wind caught her hair just right, was gone from the hallway shelf. I stood there for a solid 2 minutes trying to convince myself it had just fallen. But there wasn't a trace of it. Not even dust. I texted her, "Home. Where are you?" Nothing. Not for 48 minutes. Then, at Tasha's, girls' night, "Don't wait up, X." I didn't respond. I went to the kitchen, opened the fridge. Half a bottle of wine, her brand of hummus, and 3 perfectly stacked takeout containers. None of which were mine. It was a strange kind of stillness, like walking through a movie set after the cameras stopped rolling. The next morning, she came back smelling like Tom Ford and cigarettes. She hasn't smoked in 6 years. No mention of the missing picture. Nookies. Just a hey, tossed over her shoulder like a receipt. It was death by 1,000 tiny X. But the tipping point came on a Thursday. I remember that because it was raining and Amanda always claimed rain made her existential. She was getting ready in the bathroom, mirror fogged up, music playing low, some synth-pop trash that didn't match her old playlists. I stood in the doorway, watching her paint her lips red. Not the soft kind she used to wear for dinner dates. This was armor. A color you wore when you didn't care who bled. "You going somewhere?" I asked. She didn't flinch. Just kept applying the lipstick, then said without meeting my eyes, "Dinner with the girls." "Which girls?" She clicked the cap back on and finally turned. "Jesus. Do you want a full roll call?" That was the moment something cracked. Not loudly, not dramatically, but enough for me to step back and say no. I opened her drawer in our bedroom later that night, something I hadn't done in months. There was a second phone. Burnt orange case. Passcode locked. I stared at it for a long time. Then I didn't sleep. The next morning I followed her. She left in a blazer and heels at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. Said she was meeting her cousin to pick out bridesmaid dresses. Her cousin got married last fall. She didn't see me 3 cars back. She didn't see me watch her valet her car at the Malden, some exclusive condo tower where rent probably cost more than my yearly salary. I parked across the street, waited, watched, and then I saw him. Tall, shaved head, charcoal suit. One of those men who looked like he owned everything he touched. He greeted her with a hand to the small of her back. She laughed, really laughed. Threw her head back like she used to when I'd surprise her with coffee on Sunday mornings. Then she disappeared with him into the building. I sat in the car for an hour, maybe 2. I wasn't shaking. I wasn't angry, just cold. At 5:39 p.m., I walked into that building, past the concierge, straight up the elevator to the penthouse. The hallway smelled like citrus and wood polish. I heard them before I even knocked. Music, laughter, that expensive kind of joy. Then I knocked, and the man opened the door. He looked at me like I was a wrong delivery. Then he smiled. That kind of slow, condescending smile like he'd been waiting for this. "No roosters here," he said. "Your wifey's busy." And I saw her, not even hiding, wearing silk, holding a flute of champagne. And behind her, a second man I hadn't seen before. I smiled. But not the kind you give when you're happy. It was the kind you wear when everything's already over and you're just watching the credits roll. 3 hours later, I came back, and they were waiting, as if they thought the story would end at humiliation. But this time, I brought something with me. They say time slows down in moments of crisis, but those 3 hours passed faster than I expected. I didn't go home. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone. I just drove. Not far. Just away. Gas stations. Parking lots. I watched people go about their lives, buying chips, filling tanks, laughing on Bluetooth calls. I envied them for not knowing. I circled back when the city got darker. Malden Tower's lights shimmered like it was still a palace and not the den where my marriage bled out. The concierge didn't stop me. Maybe he remembered my face from earlier. Maybe he just didn't care. I took the elevator up again, but slower this time. No tension, no fists clenched. Just that same cold I'd found earlier, now settled in like a tenant. They were outside on the balcony, drinking something expensive and laughing. Amanda wore a different outfit, shorter, tighter, like she'd transformed into another person entirely while I was gone. The first man, Armani Smirk, spotted me first. His laugh died mid-breath. "Oh, look," he said, raising his glass. "The husband returns. You really should let go, friend. Clinging isn't attractive." Amanda turned. She didn't flinch. Not embarrassed. Not surprised. Just annoyed. "What now?" she said, like I'd interrupted her doing laundry instead of betraying me in high definition. I stepped forward and set the item I'd brought on their patio table. A small, black box. I pressed the button. The tiny speaker crackled to life. Her voice, clear as if she stood next to me, spoke from the hidden recorder I'd planted in her car last week, buried beneath the passenger seat panel. Amanda's voice, telling the second man in the penthouse that I was a boring parasite, that she only stayed married because divorce paperwork was a drag, and that Kyle still thinks I'm at yoga while I'm getting spoiled like I deserve. Her words didn't shake me. I'd already memorized them. It was the second man. Tall, muscular, tattooed forearm holding a cigar, who froze first. "Wait, you recorded her?" he said, stepping back from Amanda like she'd just vomited on his shoes. Amanda snapped like a mask peeling off. "Oh, get over yourself, Dylan. You think I was exclusive with you? Please. You sell insurance and act like you're Don Draper." Dylan blinked, stunned. Are you serious right now?" That's when it started unraveling. The smirk on Armani guy's face melted. "You said you dumped him months ago. You said, what the hell is this, Amanda?" She looked between the two men, caught for the first time. Her mouth opened and closed. "You think I owe either of you an explanation? Kyle's a joke and you two were fun distractions. Don't flatter yourselves. I should have left then. Should have turned and walked away like a clean break in a clean movie. But I didn't. Instead, I looked at her and asked one question. Quiet. Simple. Why?" Her eyes didn't soften. "Because you bored me," she said. "You're soft. Predictable. You always do the right thing. And I wanted to feel something different. You think love is enough? You think loyalty makes up for being dull?" I stood there, letting her slice through the last pieces. The other two men just watched, one disgusted, one furious. "Then you should have left," I said. She rolled her eyes. "Leaving is hard. This was easier." She turned to go back inside. But I wasn't done. I stepped forward again, reached into my coat, and pulled out the final surprise. Divorce papers. Signed by me. Drafted last week. I dropped them on the patio table. Armani picked them up. "Wait, you started this?" I nodded. "I didn't come here to win her back." Amanda turned, suddenly alarmed. "Wait, what is this? Why? Why do you have papers?" I smiled, just a twitch. "Because I knew. I've known for months. I just needed you to show me." She moved toward me like she might say something else. But I was already walking away. Let her find someone else to entertain her chaos. I was done dancing in her circus. I didn't go home that night. I drove aimlessly until the highway swallowed me whole. No destination. Just motion. The city lights faded into the rearview, and the sound of her voice played on a loop in my head. "You're soft. Predictable. As if stability were something shameful. As if being good to her was weakness." By the time I pulled into a roadside motel somewhere off Route 71, my phone had already buzzed 23 times. Amanda. Then private number. Then Amanda again. I let it ring. She didn't want me. She wanted control. But the game was over. I got a room with flickering yellow lights and a bed that smelled like disinfectant and memories. I lay back, stared at the ceiling, and let the emptiness settle in like fog. But here's the thing. You think after something like that, you fall apart. Cry. Scream. Break something. I didn't. I slept. Deep. Like someone who'd finally exhaled after holding their breath underwater too long. The next morning, the real game started. I'd already been gathering evidence for weeks. Emails. Credit card statements. GPS logs from our shared account she never thought I checked. I'd even spoken to a lawyer 2 days before confronting her. no-fault divorce, but with documented infidelity on record, the split leaned heavy in my favor, especially since the condo was in my name. In fact, most of what Amanda flaunted as part of her life was actually mine. I texted her once, around 8 a.m. "You have 24 hours to get your stuff out of the house. After that, the locks change." She replied immediately, "You're being dramatic. Can we please talk like adults?" Then, "You're throwing away 9 years because I had some fun? Then, you'll regret this." And then, hours later, "Okay, I'll come tomorrow. Please don't make this uglier than it has to be." But it was already ugly. What she didn't know yet, what I hadn't told her, was that her fun extended deeper than she imagined. That second guy, Dylan, the insurance bro, he'd messaged me that night after I left. Didn't know she was married. I feel sick. She lied to me, too. "If you ever need anything, man." Turns out Dylan wasn't the only one. There was a third, then a fourth. The fourth was the kicker. He was 24, worked at the gym Amanda went to 3 times a week. I recognized him instantly from one of her Instagram stories. The background had always looked familiar. It was my living room. She'd brought him into my house. That detail cracked something inside me that I didn't even know was breakable. And I decided right then, this wouldn't just end quietly. The next morning, she showed up. Sunglasses, all black, hair in a bun like she was playing the widow to her own marriage. She didn't knock. She walked in like she still had keys to me. I was sitting at the kitchen island, sipping coffee. "Calm. Ready. Can we just talk?" she said, setting her bag down like nothing happened. "Before you turn this into some courtroom drama? You don't live here anymore," I said without looking up. She sighed. "Oh my God, Kyle. What are you gonna do? Kick me out with a broom?" "No," I said, standing. "With this." I handed her a single sheet of paper, an itemized list. Every purchase on our joint card tied to her lies. Hotels, Uber rides. That gold bracelet she claimed was from her aunt. Thousands of dollars. Her eyes scanned it. She paled. "You went through You used my money to cheat on me." I cut in. "Consider this my receipt. I'll pay it back." "No, you won't, because by 4 p.m. today that account closes. You can go to the bank and get your half, what's left of it. But after that, you get nothing. No more free rides." She stood in stunned silence. "You really hate me that much?" I met her eyes for the first time. "No. Hating you would mean I still care." Then I dropped the last piece on the counter. A flash drive. "What's that?" "Proof. Of everything. In case you get cued in court." She reached for it. I let her. But then I added, "Oh, and Dylan? He sends his regards." She looked up, eyes flashing with real panic for the first time. "Good. Let it burn." I turned and walked out. Left her there with her lies and her luggage. I didn't slam the door. I didn't look back. This wasn't revenge. This was release. Amanda didn't leave at 4 p.m. At 4:06, I got a text from my neighbor, Jenna, who lived across the street and had an unfortunate front row seat to my unraveling marriage. "Hey, just saw Amanda sitting on your porch. She's been there like 30 minutes. Want me to call someone?" I told her no. I wasn't about to let Amanda weaponize discomfort. But when I finally got home an hour later, she was still there. Legs crossed, smoking a cigarette she must have bummed off someone. Even though she claimed she quit for her lungs and her lifestyle, she didn't look up when I pulled into the driveway. She just exhaled and said, loud enough to carry, "You're making this a lot harder than it has to be." I stepped out, closed the car door carefully. "Amanda, the keys, the garage opener, and your access to our accounts. Now." She stood slowly, like someone playing the role of victim on a stage she built herself. "You're being vindictive." "No," I said. "Vindictive would have been sending that flash drive to your boss instead of just holding on to it." Her jaw twitched. "That's a threat. That's a fact." I didn't raise my voice. That's what rattled her most. There was nothing left to argue with, only facts now. Only consequences. She stepped close, tried to soften her tone. "Kyle, you're not like this. You're kind. You're the guy who buys flowers on Thursdays and kisses my forehead when I fall asleep on the couch. What happened to him? You killed him." There it was. The truth between us, thick as concrete. She blinked. Once. Twice. Then she smiled, tight, joyless. You really think this makes you strong? You think punishing me fixes you? No, I said. But watching you face what you've done, that does help. She threw the keys at my feet. Fine, you win. Enjoy being alone with your spreadsheets and your moral high ground. She walked away like she expected me to stop her. I didn't. Inside, the air felt cleaner. No perfume that didn't belong. No tension clinging to the corners. Just silence. Real, earned silence. But the story didn't end there. 2 days later, I got a call from her sister, Laura. Someone who, until that point, had always liked me. She said Amanda was spiraling, that she'd lost her job. Apparently, the office romance wasn't as private as she thought, and that their parents found out. There was a family dinner where Amanda was confronted by both her mother and father, and according to Laura, she'd screamed at them that they never backed her up, and that Kyle was a narcissist hiding behind decency. It would have been laughable if it wasn't so calculated. She'd flipped the script before. This was her old trick. Make herself the underdog, push tears out like confetti, find someone new to hold the blame. But this time, the audience was walking out before the act ended. 3 nights after that, I got an email from Dylan. Just thought you'd want to know. She showed up at my place, didn't let her in, told her to lose my number. Sorry again for being part of this mess. I responded with 2 words. Good call. The final nail came a week later, during a mediation meeting for the divorce. We sat across from each other in a sterile room with a third-party facilitator. Amanda came in dressed like she was attending a funeral, but her eyes still carried that defiance, that belief that somehow she'd talk her way out of this. When she realized I wasn't backing down, when she saw I had copies of everything, dates, numbers, statements, she changed tactics. From anger to tears in under 10 seconds. I made mistakes, she whispered, but I still love you. That has to count for something. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I felt absolutely nothing. Not anger, not affection, not even pity, just freedom. You loved what I gave you, I said, but you never loved me. She didn't reply. The mediator cleared her throat. Shall we proceed? Amanda nodded once, quietly, and with that, the mask slipped off for good. Freedom didn't come with fireworks or peace. Came with silence. A raw, unfamiliar kind that didn't comfort or congratulate me. Just existed, heavy and honest. After the mediation, Amanda disappeared from my immediate orbit. She stopped calling. The text stopped. Even her attempts to spin the narrative on social media fizzled out after a few half-hearted posts about growth and finding clarity. She knew I had the receipts. She knew anyone who asked would get the truth. So, for a while, there was just space. Me, my house, and the reality I'd spent years refusing to look at. The room still held pieces of her. Perfume in the closet, books she never actually read, mugs with her initials, but they felt like forgotten props on an abandoned stage. I could breathe again. That should have been the win. But no one tells you how empty victory feels when there's no one left to share it with. Then, 2 weeks after the mediation, I ran into Amanda's ex-best friend, Kara, at a small bookstore I'd forgotten existed. She was stacking a display of new arrivals when she saw me and froze like she wasn't sure if she should say anything. But I nodded, and that seemed to open a door. I heard, she said softly, walking up to me with cautious steps, about everything. I'm guessing Amanda's not giving the full picture. Oh, she gave a picture, Kara replied with a wry smile. Just not one anyone's buying. She says you were controlling, that you trapped her, that she acted out because she felt smothered. She cheated with 4 different people. Kara's smile vanished. 5, if we're counting the trainer in Midtown. He was, well, brief. I didn't flinch. I didn't need confirmation anymore. I wasn't chasing numbers or names. I was chasing closure. She always hated being bored, Kara added, almost to herself. But Kyle, she hated you the most when you didn't fight her back. When you stayed calm. It made her feel small. That's not my fault. No, but it made her meaner. There was something almost apologetic in her eyes then, like she carried guilt just for having once been close to Amanda. We talked for a bit. It wasn't flirtatious or dramatic. Just 2 people who had walked through the same wreckage from different doors. Before I left, Kara said, you know, She used to say you were the safest man she ever met. I paused. Then why did she blow it up? Because she doesn't know what to do with safe. She only knows how to chase fires. Later that night, I pulled out a box from the closet. Inside were remnants of our life together. Photos, cards, anniversary notes we used to write each other on napkins. One in particular caught my eye. It was from year 4. Her handwriting curled and playful. Thank you for being my calm in the storm. I stared at it a long time, not because it hurt, but because I finally saw it for what it was. Not a promise, but a warning. Amanda didn't want calm. She wanted the storm to never end. The next day, I started making real changes. Cleared out the bedroom. Changed the furniture. Closed our joint Spotify account. Little things. Things people never notice until they matter. And just when I thought the story had finally found its ending, I got the letter. It was handwritten. No return address. Just my name on the envelope, left in my mailbox with no postage. Inside, one sentence. You were right to leave, but you have no idea what's coming. No signature. Just that. And somehow, I knew. It wasn't from Amanda that I stared at the letter for 20 minutes without moving. Just that single sentence, carved in shaky black ink. Every word deliberate and quiet like a threat whispered in a library. You were right to leave, but you have no idea what's coming. No signature. No return address. Not even the smug elegance Amanda might have added if it had come from her. This was different. This was colder. Calculated. I turned it over again and again, inspecting every corner. Nothing. No clues. No scent. Nothing to trace. Just my name, Kyle, scrawled across the envelope in all caps. That was the worst part. The familiarity in the handwriting, like the sender had written my name 100 times before. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on the edge of the bed listening to every creak in the floorboards, every car that passed outside. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was unease, the kind that creeps up your spine when you realize the movie you thought was ending still has another act. By morning, I'd convinced myself it was some petty scare tactic. Amanda trying to rattle me. Maybe she couldn't break me with tears or seduction, so she was trying mystery. But if it was a game, I wasn't playing. It carried on. Until the second envelope arrived. 3 days later, wedged between 2 bills. Same ink. Same handwriting. This time, no message, just a photograph. Me. Sitting in the coffee shop I go to every Saturday. Caught in profile, mid-sip, looking out the window. Taken from inside. I dropped the photo on the table like it had burned me. Who the hell was watching me? And why? I rushed to the shop that day, asked the barista, Molly, if anyone had been taking pictures, sitting alone, acting off. She thought for a moment, then said, "There's this woman who started coming in a couple weeks ago. Sits in the corner, orders green tea, never takes off her sunglasses. Stares a lot. Do you know her name?" "No, but she left this once," Molly said, reaching behind the counter. A receipt from the coffee shop, scrawled in the margins. A doodle of an eye, just one, wide open, unblinking. I felt something shift in my chest, like my body had finally caught up to the realization my mind had been avoiding. This wasn't Amanda. This was someone else. Back at home, I pulled up my laptop. I searched through Amanda's tagged photos, her mutuals, her old posts, looking for anything. A face, a name, someone who'd been watching from the background. An ex-friend, a jealous acquaintance, someone I'd brushed past at a party and never noticed. Then I found it. A group photo from 3 years ago. Amanda, Kara, and 2 other women at some winery. All smiles and white teeth. One of them, back left, stood slightly off to the side. No smile. Holding a wine glass by the rim. Her stare locked on Amanda, not the camera. Her name was tagged. Lena Crowley. The name meant nothing to me, but she'd commented on the post. "The masks are slipping, sweet girl." The comment had 1 like. Amanda's. I clicked the profile. Private. No mutuals with me. No recent posts. But her bio sent a chill crawling up my spine. Nothing stays buried if someone keeps digging. That night, I got another letter. 3rd one. No envelope this time. Just folded once. Slid under my door. "You weren't the first. You won't be the last. But you're the first to look back." I didn't sleep. This time, it was fear. I didn't go to work the next day. Couldn't. Not with my name turning up in strange hands, my photo circulating like a missing person flyer, and letters showing up as if my life had triggered some hidden countdown. I sat in my kitchen, blinds half closed, door locked, Lena Crowley's name pulsing like static in my mind. I needed answers, not guesses, not theories. I needed someone who knew Amanda before me, someone from the timeline she'd scrubbed clean when we got married. I called Kara. She picked up on the second ring, hesitant. Kyle? Who is Lena Crowley? Silence, like I'd spoken a spell. Kara. Who is she? She exhaled, slow, reluctant. You weren't supposed to know that name. I didn't, until the letters started. More silence. Then, you need to come over. Kara lived in a duplex on the east side. I drove there with that pit in my stomach you only feel when you know the next truth can't be undone. She let me in wearing sweatpants and no makeup, like she'd dropped the performance too. No pretense. She poured 2 glasses of water. No wine. No soft music. Just fluorescent lights and the sound of my own heartbeat. She and Amanda were friends. For a while. Close friends. Too close, actually. I leaned forward. How close? They were roommates. Years before you. Amanda was different back then, wilder, angrier, unfiltered. But Lena was the anchor. Until she wasn't. I said nothing, let her keep going. There was this guy, Mark. Lena was seeing him, casual, nothing serious. Until Amanda decided she wanted him. And Amanda, she doesn't like wanting things. She needs them. My fingers tightened around the glass. She seduced him. Not in secret. Not by accident. She made it a performance. Lena found out. There was a huge blowout. Screaming, crying, stuff broken. I wasn't there, but I saw the aftermath. Amanda told everyone Lena had gone unstable. She told Mark Lena was obsessive, unhinged. And Kara's voice dropped. Mark ghosted Lena, blocked her. And Lena, she didn't take it well. She dropped out of her graduate program. Moved back in with her parents for a year. She vanished. Did Amanda ever talk about it? Kara hesitated. She laughed about it. Said she taught that girl a lesson in evolution. Like survival of the prettiest. I sat back, sick crawling up my throat. So Lena's doing this to get revenge? I don't think it's revenge, Kara said, voice tight. I think she wants you to see Amanda. Really see her. The version no one else got to survive. Back home, I opened my laptop again. I scoured old university forums, social media archives, anything tagged with Lena Crowley's name. The deeper I dug, the darker it got. Blog posts about betrayal, a poem clearly referencing Amanda, about manipulation wrapped in pearls and perfume. And one cryptic post, dated just months ago. Sometimes justice isn't about punishment. Sometimes it's about unmasking the liar before they find their next believer. That night, I got the 4th letter. Inside it was a USB drive. I hesitated before plugging it into my laptop. I ran a scan. It was clean. Just one file. A video. Low quality, time-stamped from 5 years ago. It was Amanda. At some house party. Sitting on a guy's lap. Laughing. Drinking. Looking straight into the camera as someone off-screen says, "Hey Amanda, doesn't he have a girlfriend?" And she responds without missing a beat. "Yeah, me." Then she winks. The video ends. There was no context. No crime. But the implication was surgical. Lena wasn't trying to destroy Amanda. She was exposing her. Bit by bit. Piece by piece. And I had the sickening sense. This was just the beginning point. 3 days passed. No letters. No packages. No emails from mysterious aliases or strangers in bookstore corners. Nothing from Amanda either. It was the kind of calm that didn't soothe. It crackled with tension, like air before a storm. I kept waiting for something, anything, but the silence was too deliberate. And then Lena showed up. Not metaphorically, not in a letter or through a screen. In person. I opened my front door to grab a grocery delivery, and she was just there. Standing on the walkway like she'd been waiting for me to find her instead. Tall, dark coat, hands in the pockets, hair pulled back tight. She wasn't beautiful the way Amanda was. She was sharpened, like she'd been through fire and kept the shape. "Don't slam the door," she said, not bothering to smile. I didn't. I stepped outside instead. closed the door behind me. "You've made your point," I said. She tilted her head. "Have I? What is this? Some twisted project? A social experiment? How much can a man take before he loses it? Because I've had enough." She didn't flinch. "This isn't about you losing it. It's about Amanda getting away with it. Again. You don't even know me. I know what she did to you. Same thing she did to me. To others. It's a pattern, Kyle. And people like her only stop when someone draws a line deep enough that she trips on it." I didn't respond. Couldn't. Because part of me hated that she was right. "She's planning something," Lena said flatly. "She doesn't lose quietly. You humiliated her in front of two men who thought they mattered to her. You cut off her money. You took back control." I narrowed my eyes. "How do you know all this?" She reached into her coat pocket and handed me a phone. Not hers, Amanda's. Or at least one of Amanda's old backups. Cracked screen. Faint perfume. Same burnt orange case. I took it back when we lived together. She never noticed. She went through 3 phones a year. But I kept this one. What's on it? Messages. Videos. Audio. Some of it from while you were together. Some of it earlier. I held it like a weapon I wasn't sure how to use. Why give it to me? Because if she's going to make her next move, you need to know what she's capable of when she feels cornered. Then she stepped closer, close enough for me to see the faint scar just under her left cheekbone. A scar I was sure Amanda had something to do with. But I didn't ask. Some truths don't come with words. "She won't just come at you," Lena said. "She'll turn people against you. Twist stories. Get close to someone new and tell them you're the abusive ex. She's done it before. She won't get the chance. She already is." Lena stepped back, nodded at the phone. "Start with the file labeled gift wrapped. Then go deeper. You'll see." She walked away before I could stop her. Slipped into a car parked around the corner. Gone. I stood there, unsure of everything, until I finally went inside and opened the phone. It was old, sluggish, nearly dead. I plugged it in. Waited. When it finally lit up, I found the file. Giftwrapped.mp3. Played it. Amanda's voice. Clear. Whispering. "No, he has no idea. He thinks I'm at a conference. He's so easy to fool. Honestly, I'm kind of proud of myself. The more I lie, the more he tries to love me. It's like watching someone light a candle for their own execution." A pause. "Oh, please, he'd probably thank me if I left. That's how pathetic he is." I closed my eyes, breathed through it, didn't throw the phone like I wanted to. I wasn't even angry. I was awake. I stayed up that night combing through more files. Names, chats, recordings. Most of them matched people I already knew about. One didn't. Ben. A man I'd never heard of. Dozens of messages, most from a year ago. One line from Amanda stuck out like broken glass in a soft floor. "He signed everything. He'll never notice the clause. If I time this right, I walk with the house." I froze. The house. My house. I pulled out the divorce paperwork. Read through every page again. That clause, the one I hadn't understood but didn't flag because I trusted my lawyer, was real. And it gave her a legal path to stake claim on the house if she could prove I'd abandoned it during separation. She was never trying to win me back. She wanted me gone long enough to make the move. She was already one step ahead. It took everything I had not to call her right then and there. Not to scream. Not to demand answers. But that's exactly what Amanda would have wanted. An emotional reaction. Something messy she could twist into leverage. So instead, I took the quiet route. I called my lawyer. We met the next morning. Mr. Rains was the kind of man who wore 2 watches and never smiled unless someone was losing a lawsuit. I laid out the evidence, the clause, the audio from Amanda's burner phone, even the text messages to Ben, who, by all accounts, worked in real estate and had a nasty little hobby of helping women screw their exes out of property. Rains listened, took notes, then leaned back and said, "This is the part where most people get ruined, but not you, because she left fingerprints." By the end of the day, he filed a petition to nullify the clause, citing fraud and deception during contract negotiation. We attached Lena's audio files and highlighted Amanda's plan to claim I abandoned the property. It wouldn't be instant, but it was enough to freeze any attempt she'd make in court. Amanda had triggered a trap, but this time she'd stepped into one. I thought that would be the final twist. But then I got the text. Not from Amanda. Not from Lena. From an unknown number, no name. Just 4 words. You're not the only one. Attached was a screenshot. A conversation between Amanda and someone named Rachel W. Rachel. So you actually went through with it? Amanda. Of course. He had it coming. Rachel. I wish I had your guts. Amanda. You have to break them before they realize you never cared. I stared at it. Not just because Amanda was once again bragging about psychological warfare like it was a Pilates class, but because Rachel W. was married. Her husband, Adam, was someone I'd spoken to at Amanda's company Christmas party 2 years ago. A decent guy. Shy. Wore glasses and tried to bond with me over jazz music I didn't understand. And suddenly I realized, Amanda wasn't just toxic. She was viral. She wasn't destroying me in isolation. She was inspiring others. She was creating a culture of rot. I called the number. No answer. Then, minutes later, a message. She did it to my brother. Took everything. He's still in therapy. I saw your story going around online. Thought you should know she brags about it. She keeps score. My stomach twisted. Amanda wasn't just a liar. She was a collector. Of men, of chaos, of emotional wreckage. And suddenly, I saw the full shape of the final game. Amanda didn't want the house, or the money, or to win me back. She wanted to be talked about, to be feared, revered, to have her name whispered like a secret no one was brave enough to say aloud. That night, I made a choice. I pulled up the folder Lena had given me. I renamed every file, created a clean, organized chain of documentation. Then I sent a copy to myself, one to my lawyer, and one, encrypted, to a private investigator I'd quietly hired a week prior. Not to stalk Amanda, to map her damage. Because if this wasn't just about me, if there were more like Lena, more like Rachel's brother, then someone needed to light a flare. And I would. But I wasn't prepared for what the investigator would uncover the next morning. Because somewhere in Amanda's trail of destruction, buried beneath fake accounts and sealed settlements, was the name of a woman who had vanished completely. Gone. No trace. No closure. Just a final message left behind on a forgotten blog post years old. If you're reading this and she's in your life, get out. You don't escape Amanda. You survive her. The investigator called at 6:47 a.m. His voice was tense, not panicked, but tight, like someone gripping the edge of something sharp. I found her, he said. The missing woman. The one from the blog. Is she? I started, but he cut me off. She's alive, but you need to hear the rest in person. An hour later, we sat across from each other in a quiet diner on the outskirts of town. The investigator Merrick was ex-law enforcement, the kind of man who carried silence like a tool. He slid a folder across the table. No build-up, no drama, just the facts. Her name was Dana, a software analyst from Vermont. She met Amanda at a weekend conference 6 years ago. Before me, before Dylan, before any of the names I'd uncovered. They had drinks. Bonded. Amanda moved into her life like fog, slow, soft, consuming. Within months, Dana was in love. Completely. Amanda told her she'd never felt seen like this before. Told her secrets. Promised her a future. They lived together. Quietly. Dana came from a conservative family. Amanda weaponized that too. Isolated her. Made her feel like Amanda was the only person who understood her. Then, one morning, Amanda left. No warning. Just gone. Took Dana's savings, her laptop, her credentials. Wiped their shared files. Destroyed every proof they'd been together. Dana reported identity theft. Police couldn't prove anything. Amanda had left just enough evidence to make it look consensual. And Dana? She checked herself into a psychiatric facility 3 weeks later. Depression. Suicidal ideation. Spent 9 months there. Got out. Moved across the country. Changed her name. Merrick found her under the alias Erin Hale. She ran a tiny bookstore and didn't own a phone. She didn't want to speak to me, but she'd given Merrick a message. It was just 3 sentences, written in block print on a torn page of some paperback novel. You survived the mask. I survived the teeth. Don't try to fix her. She doesn't break. She feeds. I sat there in that diner with my coffee going cold and realized the scope of Amanda wasn't emotional or relational. It was predatory. She didn't just destroy people. She hollowed them out and walked away whistling. I went home and stood in the center of the now empty house. Our house. Mine again legally. Mine by survival. There was one more thing I needed to do. I gathered every document, every audio file, every message from Lena, Kara, Dylan, the investigator. I compiled them all, created a timeline, named it Project Mirror. Then I published it. Not on a revenge site, not in some messy Reddit post. I gave it to a journalist Kara trusted. Someone who'd been investigating patterns of emotional manipulation and psychological abuse in domestic relationships, especially ones too subtle for law enforcement but too devastating to ignore. They verified everything. They didn't publish Amanda's name, but they wrote the story. A long, brutal, anonymous profile. It went viral. Within days, I got messages. From people who'd dated someone just like her. From a teacher who recognized the same traits in a colleague who destroyed a student's life. From another man, no name, who simply wrote, "She told me she was engaged to someone weak. Thank you for proving her wrong." Amanda never contacted me again. Maybe she knew she couldn't win. Maybe she found a new stage. That's the thing about people like her, they don't stop. They just move. Lena emailed me once more. "I'm proud of you. Not for fighting, but for not disappearing." That's what she fears most. Being remembered for what she truly is. And I replied, she wanted a story. She got one. But it's mine now. This isn't a fairy tale ending. There's no new love interest waiting in the wings. No dramatic court speech or final apology that made things tidy. Just truth. And peace. And the quiet certainty that I was never weak. I was just decent. And Amanda, she mistook decency for a door she could walk through. But the door is closed now. Bolted. Sealed. And I'm on the other side. Alive, awake, and finally, untouched.